no love lost for the destruction of the Iranian mullahs and their entire system of government. Got it. But the reality is we got to pin this down. I was really shocked by reading that a story that said the Iranians are going to allow some ships to cross the Strait of Hormuz. Why are we not dominating that area? Mm-hmm. So these are things that when I listen to it, I'm like, listen, I'm glad for the progress. Very little loss of life with us. Apparent loss of life for all the true bad guys in Iran. I just want to see if it's weeks or even months. I at least want to be able to see why that is, and that's not clear to me right now. So
yeah, and I think the biggest question is how will we wrap it up, right? I mean, if we diminish their navy and their leaders, is that it? Do we just diminish them and a new leader comes in and takes over and maybe they're more friendly, or do we have to put boots on the ground? And I think that's the worry among most Americans, is putting boots on the ground.
In my mind, if they can determine that there aren't too many booby traps on Karg Island, I could see putting American forces on Karg Island and shutting off their ability to have any access to their oil, because that is that's, I think, 80% of all that they can do on oil. Mm. And I'm all for shutting down the regime in that way. To be candid, a temporary boots on the ground thing, I would have no problem personally seeing special forces going in and obtaining the uranium, assuming that that's something that's obtainable and not just buried deep into the ground. And so maybe they don't need to. Maybe the Iranians have no access to it. But it's got to be highly limited. The thing is, we're in this now, and it's got to be finished. If we don't finish it, everything's worse. And then we can argue about whether we should have gone into it to begin with. But now we have to finish it. And I look at these things really closely, and I don't see what that looks like yet. I mean, I know what the end objective is, and I do believe we have the capability of meeting that goal. I don't see the progress any further. We're 90% of the way, 60% of the way. It feels like 90%. But then again, Iran is allowing vessels to go through the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't sound like we've advanced really far, or far enough in the areas where we need to.
Yeah, and speaking of that, here's Scott Bessent on the Strait of Hormuz and about some of those ships that are coming through.
It is well supplied, and we are seeing more and more ships go through on a daily basis as individual countries cut deals with the Iranian regime for the time being. But over time, the U.S. is going to retake control of the straits, and there will be freedom of navigation, whether it is through U.S. escorts or a multinational escort. The market is well supplied, and we are seeing more and more ships go through on a daily basis as individuals.
It's repeating itself.
This clip,
I don't hear you. Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was listening to a clip because I remember seeing this weekend, and I wanted to play it real quick. This is a clip from, I don't know, it looks like it says 1987 of President Trump back then talking about Iran, and similar to what you were talking about, how you wouldn't have a problem with taking over Karg Island and taking over their oil supply. Here is President Trump all the way back in 1987.
Because I'm running for the presidency. I'm here because I'm personally tired of seeing this great country of ours being ripped off.
But as far as Trump is concerned, our allies are only part of the problem. The real culprit is Iran.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we take their oil?
You go in.
How do we go in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me. Yeah? You're going to have a war. And it's going to start in the Middle East.
What if the Soviet Union said, you do this to Iran, we're going to come in?
I don't believe they'd do it. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations. And I mean grab it and keep it. And get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
All right. So he's been talking about this for a long time. This isn't new with President Trump.
And the thing is, back then and now, I agree. Listen, we have been so weak in our stance towards Iran at every level.
Well, Obama's just handing them money, right?
Yeah, well, we'll go back further. So Jimmy Carter was working deals with the Ayatollah, who had been banned from Iran when the Shah was in power, Iran was our proxy at the time. This is the other thing. You get into these stupid political arrangements where we run things, and we essentially in some ways ran things in Iran. We ushered the Shah back into power, I think in the 1960s it was. Late 50s, early 60s. He's around. People are complaining about him. Of course, he's our proxy. Then suddenly Jimmy Carter's allowing the Ayatollah to come in there, which had not been allowed because of the obvious thing that would happen, which is what happened. Then Jimmy Carter didn't go in with the military to take down the Ayatollah after he helped him get in. So we had our military go in, and it killed a bunch of our special forces guys that were going to go in and save the hostages. I mean, the weakness is crazy. Then you go, Reagan, I think, tried to deal with it a bit, but it was playing out in a way that was very difficult. The Iran-Contra deal was part of this whole thing. There was some weakness in that effort, although some strength. There were attempts. You go into George H.W. Bush, he did nothing. You go to Clinton, he didn't do anything. You go to George W. Bush, nothing. Again, let's pussyfoot around, and then Obama throws money at him. I mean, there's every reason for Donald Trump to recognize that we've got a mess to clean up that is of our own making, and Iran is of our own making, whether it's through the Shah into the Ayatollah up until now. This is a mess of our making. We're the ones that created this monster. Donald Trump has decided to clean it up. I really hate how we deal with war powers in this country. I'm really frustrated that there is not clarity that we are willing to enforce out of Congress or anywhere else. But Donald Trump has taken the action. I pray and hope that it turns out well. And I'm worried that some future president, for some stupid reason, is going to take other actions. By the way, just like Barack Obama did in Benghazi. He was 8 months at war with Benghazi. So I want this thing to be done, and I pray that we stop doing it anymore. Donald Trump's the only guy I could trust to maybe get through this, but there are just a lot of questions on the back end of this I still have.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move on to the TSA agents, DHS shutdown. Here's from Caroline Levitt. President Trump declares national emergency at airports to sign order instructing DHS to immediately pay TSA officers. And here's a report from Fox with Bill Malugin from this morning.
We can confirm that at least some TSA agents have started getting paid as of this morning. Our team down at Atlanta Airport just talked to a handful of those agents there. They confirmed they did get a paycheck today, though one agent did say his was about 30 hours short of what he had worked. But looking at the bigger picture here, as these airports start trying to get back on track, Border Czar Tom Homan says ICE agents will be staying at those airports until things are running smoothly again.
So it seems like they redirected some funds to pay the agents for now until the shutdown ends.
My understanding is he's using emergency powers to move funds into helping some of them get paid. Mm-hmm. There are obviously, I'm going to love seeing some Democrats file suit to stop that. Just go ahead, do it. What a mess. This, though, it's clearly a mess of Democrat making to the extent that they're willing to use TSA agents and the American people that fly aircraft from place to place, pawns in their attempt to make immigration, unrestrained immigration, a permanent part of our policy. ICE agents are doing exactly what they are authorized and directed to do. Through laws that Congress has passed. And, you're going to find this or that incident where something wrong was done, but you are not finding this a problem. They are not violating the Fourth Amendment because the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply to people that are here illegally. They are following the administrative process whereby the attorney general provides warrants against people who are here illegally, particularly criminal illegals. They're following the process. Tom Homan knows this back and forth. He got the Presidential Medal of freaking Freedom from Barack Obama when he was doing stuff at about the same level of what we're doing right now. He knows it. He's been doing it the right way. You obviously had a couple of the incidents in Minnesota. Those are largely due to Democrat demonstrations and violent protesters. But yeah, you had a couple of agents who you can argue whether or not they went too far. This is a problem of Democrats. They are continuing the problem in the chaos because the only way for them to gain any political advantage anywhere is to create chaos and blame it on their political opponents. That's what they're doing. They're liars. They are trying to destroy the American Republic, and they are not an American party. That's the problem we've got. Donald Trump's trying to find solutions. Then you got weak-kneed Republicans in the Senate, John Thune leading them all the weak-kneed ones. There are a few great ones there. Just continuing this weakness and not doing anything, and therefore giving Democrats more room to run out their game. And it's an absurd thing, and you've got the House upset with John Thune now. So we'll see how it plays out, but John Thune's off on a vacation right now, as well as many other senators. And it is the most obscene thing that I've amongst many obscene things, it's the most obscene one that I've seen Republicans do in a very long time.
Yeah, here he is. Just show it real quick of him leaving the airport. It looks like this was after last week, and he was confronted by some press there at the airport. But
he got himself changed. He's out of his work clothes, and they're bypassing him through TSA lines.
Yeah, I thought they weren't supposed to be doing that.
Aircraft. I mean, it's obscene.
I thought they weren't supposed to be able to skip TSA lines now with the shutdown. I thought they passed that.
They're still doing it. I mean, there's video after video of it. Republicans and Democrats just skipping the lines. I remember I was just talking actually to Tim Huelskamp, my former boss, really close friend still. He was a congressman in Kansas. I was just talking to him over the weekend on the phone and about all this, and he's mentioning how, and this was he's one of my closest friends to this day, but it's one of the great things about people like him. He suffered the lines of TSA. He had members of Congress going past the line as he's in line saying, "Aren't you going to, take advantage of this?" He says, No, I'm not. And he refused to do it. Mm-hmm. There are members that are like that. He's not the only one. Obviously, there are a good handful of some that really get this. But there is no more unimportant job in the world than being a member of Congress. And that probably shocks a lot of people. But I'm just telling you from the inside, but also what I observe from the outside that we all observe. It's not very important. You show up and you vote for something. And the only time that you make your vote tough to do, or you have these problems with voting, is when you're trying to make yourself self-important, more important than you really are. Mm-hmm. Stop the bull crap. Pass the bills. Get rid of the institutions we don't need. Deal with the fraud. If you want to be important, then get rid of the fraud and stop spending so much of our money. That would make a congressional job important. Otherwise, all it is a bunch of people that are prima donnas that love the sense of power, that love to wear their button on the side so they can pass through everything in Washington, D.C. and get whatever they want. Mm-hmm. It is obscene and it is absurd. These people are not connected to reality.
And they love to get up there and give some great speeches and then not back them up with their votes.
It's absolutely right. I tell people all the time, you don't think just because you really liked the rah-rah speech that you saw in the news tonight from some conservative or supposedly conservative Republican that they're your friend. Maybe 10% of them that you really like what they say on TV actually vote the way they talk about. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they're lying to you. I've seen their voting records. It doesn't align with constitutional principles. It's not an attempt to restrain government. They talk about restraining government, but they hardly ever vote that way. And they only do so when it doesn't matter. It's an obscene business. Again, just to emphasize, Ronald Reagan rightly said that politics is the world's second oldest profession and has many of the characteristics of the oldest one. That is, by the way, the oldest one's prostitution, for those who don't know. That's how the saying goes. It is that bad. Mm. And as Tim Burchett rightly is saying, it's not a swamp, it's a sewer. He's absolutely right about that.
Yeah, well, we got to go to break. We come back, we got some news on J.B. Pritzker. Don't go anywhere.
We have a big announcement, folks. It's called Bella Melt. In the first week, you lost 3 pounds on this, right?
That is correct.
Your GLP-1 is a natural hormone that's in every single one of our bodies. And your GLP-1 lets you know if you're full. It's a satiety hormone. So when your GLP is working properly, it does help suppress your appetite as well as reduce those cravings. So what it's going to do best is it's going to reduce your sugar cravings or any other cravings you have in your body. It's going to suppress that appetite. But where Melissa got the most benefit, I think, over the last week was the L-carnitine. The L-carnitine tells your mitochondria, this is where you make, we've talked about it before, this is where you produce energy in your cells. It actually tells those mitochondria to burn fat for fuel.
MelissaHouseBG.com just now introducing for the first time Bella Melt with GLP-1 Fast Action. You appreciate all the free programs.
All right, welcome back from the break. Let's go to Chicago. Here's a report from Libs of TikTok on X. Sheridan Gorman. Sheridan, an 18-year-old college student, was reportedly murdered in Chicago by Jose Medina, an illegal alien. Medina was released into the country by the Biden administration in 2023. He was then arrested and released 1 month later for alleged shoplifting. Democrats have Sheridan's blood on their hands. So this is due, to the Biden administration and to Chicago's policies, their sanctuary city policies, especially releasing him after 1 month when he's an illegal. But here is J.B. Pritzker talking about it.
There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. There have been real.
So he was blocking President Trump from sending National Guard in there, from cleaning up Chicago. And now when someone gets killed by an illegal immigrant due to his policies, it's President Trump's fault for not doing enough.
There's never a time that you hear J.B. Pritzker talking that he's not lying. Not only is he fat and lazy in his personal habits, not only is he someone who his family wouldn't even allow to run the business. He's a billionaire. His family's ultra wealthy. They wouldn't allow him to run anything. Okay, because they didn't trust him to do it, and so he goes into politics. He's such an obscene jerk. And what's really interesting is that there is not one thing that Donald Trump's policies have done to lead to the result of Sheridan Gorman being murdered in a place, by the way, where he had been walking and said, look how safe it is here. He probably had his security guard all around him while he's doing his little video. And it's exactly the same place where she was killed. It is absolutely absurd, these Democrats. They want to destroy this country. They want ultimate power, permanent power. That's what they're all about. So J.B. Pritzker's about here, because he, as you rightly point out, he is clearly not allowed the things to be done that would have made the chances of something like this happen almost nothing.
Yeah, and here is a report from December 8th, 2025 on Chicago's illegal aliens and how they've released 1,700 known criminal aliens. Watch this.
New report now on sanctuary policies in the state of Illinois. Immigration and Customs Enforcement saying that Governor Pritzker is overseeing the release of more than 1,700 dangerous dangerous criminal illegal aliens since the 20th of January, including murderers, pedophiles, and kidnappers, sending them back into neighborhoods and putting American lives at risk. It is turnstile justice. And
so President Trump hasn't done enough to get the worst of the worst. Meanwhile, they're letting the worst of the worst go free into their city.
Now, never forget what Democrats have said is we're willing for criminal illegals to stay on the streets to create chaos so that we can, as J.B. Pritzker just did, claim that we can fix the problem. Mm-hmm. They can't fix the problem. They are the problem. But it's way beyond that. They want illegal aliens all over this country for all the political benefits they give them. If we do not, if we are willing to say for the sake of argument that illegal aliens are not voting in our elections, which I don't believe, they are voting in our elections. But if we just push that aside for just a moment, the fact that every one of these cities in a coordinated fashion, and it is coordinated, it's not just everyone, not merely everyone agrees with the policy. The reason they agree with the policy is what it does, which is this. Sanctuary states like Illinois become more and more Democrat, in particularly on the basis of a congressional basis, but it also helps them in their state legislative apportionment, how they draw their lines. Major cities, when they bring these people in, the Census Bureau is counting every one of these criminal illegals as well as non-criminal illegals, and it is changing the construct of how our congressional districts are written and how state legislative districts are written in favor of Democrats. They coalesced these people around these Democrat cities and Democrat states, and it gives them more seats. By some estimates, it's 14 seats that Democrats have because of how apportionment is done. It allowed them to draw the lines, and Illinois is the best example of it. It's got the most gerrymandered, it's the most gerrymandered state in the country. They draw everything up into Cook County, even in way down and out rural Illinois. People are leaving Illinois in droves, by the way, in rural Illinois, while Chicago keeps growing with illegal aliens and Democrat representation. This works for them. It creates chaos. It gives them more seats in Congress and many other things that they're doing, and ways to say that Republicans are causing problems that they're not.
Yep. And here is another report from October 16th, 2025. Where J.B. Pritzker is asked about his $1.4 million in gambling income that was on his partially released tax returns. Watch this.
I obviously, and I've explained this, or at least we did in a statement, that I went on vacation with my wife, with some friends. I was incredibly lucky. You have to be to end up ahead, frankly, going to a casino anywhere. It was in Las Vegas, and I like to play cards, and so that I founded a charitable poker match here in Chicago called the Chicago Poker Challenge that has raised millions of dollars for the Holocaust Museum here. And particularly to stand up for civil rights. That's much of what the Holocaust Museum does. And so, anyway, that's all I can say.
All right, so he had a trip to Las Vegas and got $1.4 million in one night.
Listen, J.B. Pritzker doesn't need the money. So you would tend to say, and I think rightly so, you're not going to typically have him be induced by payments to benefit him personally. Mm-hmm. But that does not mean that money is not a problem. You've got a bunch of money that is coming in through federal funds into organizations that politically advantage him. We know this through the NGO problem that we have. He's as much part of that as anyone else. I mean, obviously, he can't write all the checks for all the political activity, and his family probably doesn't tend to let him write too many of them, although some. But this money flow is not about him personally benefiting. It's about how it benefits everyone else and everyone else in the Democrat Party who are trying to undermine what we're doing. Someone worked it out. There's no way that J.B. Pritzker is that good at cards. Nobody is that good at cards. Nobody is. I'm sorry, he did not win rightly $1.4 million. So that's just one of these obscene things that we see amongst Democrats. But it gets worse from there, from some of the other videos we have.
Yeah, here we go. This is J.B. Pritzker again talking about Project 2029.
What is a Project 2029 agenda? What does a Project 2029 agenda look like for you?
I don't think you can speak of it in shorthand, but I'll just say a couple of things that I think are absolutely necessary. One is we've got to restore the rule of law, and that means holding people accountable who've broken the law. I'm talking about in this administration, when we get a new one, the people in this administration who've broken the law and federal agents who've broken the law need to be held accountable.
And that means criminally prosecuted.
Criminally prosecuted, civilly prosecuted, whatever it is that we can do.
All right, we've heard that one before during the Biden administration, and they weren't upholding the law. They were targeting people and making stuff up, and I'm sure that's going to happen again when they take back over. But the problem is we're not really doing much to go after the actual criminals. There's actual stuff that's going on in some of these states like Minnesota, California, and we need to start arresting some people.
I think that Pam Bondi's trying to be too cautious and not make it seem like lawfare. Democrats broke the law. By the way, when again, another euphemistic phrase amongst Democrats, the rule of law for Democrats means we always win in court. Okay, that's what that means. It does not mean blind lady justice who has a blindfold on so she doesn't have she doesn't give partiality to anyone, holding the proper scales in her hand so that things are scaled, in a fair fashion. This is not what Democrats want. They haven't wanted this for a long period of time. They've been winning in courts because they've twisted law for a long period of time. And that's why they hate the current Supreme Court so much, because it is actually more times than not upholding the rule of law. They've twisted the circuit court system in particular. The appellate courts are in better shape, but the circuit court system is going outrageous. They do not want the rule of law, and they are going to use lawfare again to destroy their political enemies, which is anything but the rule of law.
Yep. And we'll see who that is that's going to be leading that charge. Maybe Pritzker will try giving it a run. We'll see.
Well, he's lost a little bit of weight, so he's obviously wanting to run for president. He's still a fat boy, but he's going to try to do what he is. By the way, I'll just say this: I think right now, Rahm Emanuel, former Clinton administration official and on staff, I think and former mayor of Chicago, I think he's attempting to make a run to go to the center in the Democrat Party. I don't know if he can do that because it's such a radical left Democrat Party right now. But assuming he can, he's probably the guy who could most put a real challenge up to either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or whoever it is on the Republican side. Yeah. So, we've got to keep a close eye on this. Republicans have better get their act straight. John Thune just threw a huge wrench into it by doing this absurd, obscene recess when we need to get things done in Washington, D.C. So hopefully we get some character on the Republican side, because we've got pure evil on the Democrat side.
Yep. Well, we're all out of time for today, but we'll continue covering it tomorrow and see what comes of it. Till then, take care.
True beauty isn't applied. It's nourished from within. Bella Grace Elixir, a luxurious, scientifically crafted blend designed to restore radiance, vitality, and strength at a cellular level. At the heart of Bella Grace Elixir lies cat's claw, a powerful herb from the Amazon known for its ability to control inflammation and protect collagen. With Verisaw collagen peptides, it goes beyond the surface stimulating your body's natural collagen production to reduce fine lines, improve skin elasticity, and promote real, visible change. Bella Grace Elixir doesn't stop at collagen. It includes astaxanthin, one of nature's most powerful antioxidants. 6,000 times stronger than vitamin C, astaxanthin protects your skin from harmful UV rays and environmental stress, while locking in hydration and promoting a radiant, youthful glow. Experience the power of nature with Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Discover the science behind Bella Grace Elixir at melissahousebg.com. Read powerful testimonials from doctors and real customers who've experienced life-changing results, and explore other wellness products from Bella Grace. Bella Grace Elixir is more than just a product. It's a solution. Visit melissahousebg.com today.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed. Tonight on the Worldview Report, President Trump issues a blunt threat to Iran. Open the